Doug.
Oh, are you using Liberty Mutual's coverage customizer tool?
Sorry?
Well, since you asked, it finds discounts and policy recommendations, so you only pay for what you need. Limo, you're an animal! Who's got the bird legs now?
Only pay for what you need.
Liberty, 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 liberty.
Tomorrow on E.T.
You think back to that day. Does it
Happening now.
A controversial social media post from a local coffee company setting off a firestorm at Commissioner's Court and with the county judge. Now that coffee company has responded, and we hear from the county judge about that next.
Some showers to talk about this afternoon, that moisture in the Gulf of Mexico, and of course, the heat. I'll see you in a bit.
If you're looking to conserve power and trim down that electricity bill, coming up, we'll show you how your ceiling fan can help. The news at 5 starts right now.
And first at 5, we have some breaking news on the far south side. The San Antonio Fire Department responding to the scene of a crash that involved a big rig. This is along State Highway 16 South out by Cameron's Way. It's right outside of Loop 410 inside 1604.
We are told one person was trapped in their truck. That person had to be rescued, then was taken to the hospital. We're working on getting more information. We'll have an update in our later newscasts.
The San Antonio Fire Department also at the scene of another crash, this one on the north side. It's happening along Vance Jackson, not too far from I-10. We're told 2 people have been taken to the hospital from here. From what we can see, it appears a driver crashed into a bus stop there. This is a developing story, and we will continue to provide updates on air and online.
Also, first at 5, another warm day in the books, and another day the city's cooling centers are open. With
ERCOT asking all of us to minimize our electricity use during peak hours in Texas, the cooling centers are going to be open through Friday.
Today, we went by one location, the Westfall Branch Library on the north side, and spoke with one family who was definitely here to escape the heat.
I think it's a good thing for people to take advantage of, almost like a shared transportation. You want to share electricity, being a building, a bunch of people now are safer, people are getting vaccinated.
We have a link to find a map of all the cooling centers, the ones nearest you. It's available right now at KSAT.com. Just look for this story on the homepage.
And out there today, another day in the mid-90s. 95 so far, the high temperature in San Antonio. And actually, this view had a shower off in the distance just about an hour ago. We do have a few little patchy showers out there cooling a few lucky folks off. Bulverde right now at 89, for example. 78 in Hondo. That stands out. That's one of those little downpours that we have. Now, speaking of those showers, just a few isolated little pop-up sun showers out there today. They're hit or miss across our area. We'll take a closer look at these. They should be dissipating as the sun sets. So 20% chance through about 8-9 p.m. And then just a clearing sky, warm and humid overnight. We'll talk more about this heat, if it's going to change much, and of course that tropical moisture in the Gulf. All that coming up.
First Amendment rights, now the subject of a Bexar County Commissioner's Court controversy and a back and forth argument with a local coffee company.
And don't forget a boat. It all started when Sheriff Javier Salazar requested a BCSO rescue boat at an April Commissioner's Court meeting. Precinct 3 Commissioner Trish DeBerry said she wouldn't approve it without more details about cost and maintenance.
Soon after that, the Black Rifle Coffee Company donated $32,000 to the sheriff to buy that boat, citing a need to rescue boaters. But the coffee company's owner, Jared Taylor, also wrote an Instagram post in disapproval of DeBerry's no vote.
That post elicited hundreds of responses from the public, which DeBerry and County Judge Nelson Wolff called sexist, vile, and harassing. Many we've blurred because we can't show them on the air. In response to that post, Judge Wolff wrote a letter to Sheriff Salazar bashing his silence on those comments.
So today, Taylor wrote his own letter to Judge Wolff saying, in part, quote, "Your letter represents an impermissible attack on my constitutional rights under the First Amendment because you are upset that a political ally was subjected to public criticism for her own words," unquote.
It was the nastiest thing I've ever seen. And so I felt compelled to let people know what I thought about it. Everybody's got a constitutional right to say what they want to say. And they've said what they want to say, and I've said what I want to say.
Wolf said while Taylor did not make all the negative comments himself, they were in response to his post, and he had not denounced them.
In Taylor's letter, the coffee company president said the blame placed on him is, quote, misplaced, saying the public backlash against Trish was so strong, in some cases it used language that I would not have used. However, your beef there is with the commenters, not me or my company, end quote. Commissioner DeBerry is now in the process of filing a police report in this case. Coming up tonight at 6, she explains why and tells us where she is in that process.
To an update now on a fatal shooting from Friday. A 22-year-old man found dead behind a dumpster on the southeast side has now been identified. He is Clayton Sample. San Antonio police say he was shot to death on Friday night at the reserve at Pecan Valley Apartments on East South Cross, not too far from South W.W. White and Roldan Roads. He was shot in the chest. First responders tried life-saving measures, but Sample died at the hospital, and at last check, no one's been arrested.
The Crime Stoppers needs help finding this man. He's accused of sexually assaulting a woman he met online and then robbing her. San Antonio police say it happened April 14th in a parking lot near Bandera Road and Loop 1604. They say this man picked the woman up that morning, drove her to an empty parking lot where he sexually assaulted her and robbed her at gunpoint. He then took off in the silver car you see here. If you recognize him, you're asked to call Crime Stoppers at 210-224-STOP. Last week, the criminal court saw their first in-person jury trial take place on the civil side. Courts are also up and running. Eric Hernandez caught up with one of the civil court judges to see how it's been going since the reopening to in-person jury trials and hearings.
It's kind of been a slow comeback from the civil district side.
Not so much that work hasn't been getting done, but because jury trials are just not happening. Since reopening, 9 cases have been settled before a jury was selected for them.
All last week assigned and ready to preside over in-person jury trials. And then they settled. And that's fine. That's the way it goes.
Despite the slow starts, the civil district court has still been working throughout the pandemic. In fact, they've been working right here on Zoom, having bench trials and up to 15 Zoom jury trials.
We have and we are working so hard to make sure that access to justice has never stopped.
And as time progresses, how things get done at the courthouse will continue to evolve for all involved in court proceedings.
We've been adapting, and we as the collective we, not just our judges, but our attorneys, our litigants, the community, folks that are showing up for jury duty, everybody is committed to maintaining the integrity of the judicial institution, and that is so valuable.
Erica Hernandez, KSAT 12 News.
The 4 council districts undergoing a turnover in representation on city council today. Among them is District 5, where outgoing councilwoman Shirley Gonzalez is being forced out by term limits.
Garrett Berger talked with her about her 4 terms on council.
One of the things about District 5 that I've always loved is that I say that we're compact and connected.
For 8 years, Shirley Gonzalez has represented the West Side, a job she loves and one she was not eager to leave.
We were joking that they're going to have to roll me out of here on my chair.
Gonzalez looks back happily on her time, which she says included such important work.
I did the equity budget, which brought more dollars to districts like mine. The 5 districts in the city got additional funding for street maintenance, and then that led to equity in every city department.
She also championed the Vision Zero initiative, an effort to eliminate traffic fatalities in San Antonio. But it's a goal that continues to be a long ways off, and the departing councilwoman wishes there had been more progress. But now that the city has a transportation director separate from Public Works, she hopes that progress will be possible.
It requires 2 major things. One is a cultural shift, but the other is funding.
She also regrets that her final year was dominated by the pandemic.
I sort of thought I would spend the last year doing more celebrating with the community, and I kind of wish I had celebrated every step of the way.
But she expects she'll continue to work with the community on the parks and trails, bumping into District 5 residents, not as their councilwoman anymore, just their neighbor.
So I hope to see them in the parks, see them in the outdoors, see them on our trails, and we'll be seeing each other.
Garrett Berger, KSAT 12 News.
As more states reopen, the U.S. seeing more deadly cases. Today, the number of COVID-19 deaths have topped 600,000. And as ABC's Andrea Fajii reports, doctors are learning more about the current cases, but also the new Delta variant.
A milestone in the fight against the coronavirus as California reopens, lifting restrictions for those who are fully vaccinated, which is now more than 70% of its adult population.
No more physical distancing requirements, no more caps on occupancy.
But health officials are growing worried as 5 states with vaccination rates below the national average are now seeing increased infections as the U.S. tops 600,000 deaths and with more than 300 people still dying every day.
That's significantly lower than at the peak of this crisis, but it's still a real tragedy.
And new concerns over the Delta variant for those unvaccinated. The CDC estimating about 10% of current U.S. infections were due to the Delta variant, which is now responsible for 90% of cases in the U.K. According to 2 new studies, preliminary data shows that the Pfizer and AstraZeneca vaccine are effective at fighting the variant and more than 90% effective at keeping those fully vaccinated out of the hospital. But now a fight over requiring employees be vaccinated. A federal court throwing out a lawsuit filed by Houston hospital staff fighting the hospital's mandate. The first federal decision in favor of required vaccinations by a private employer. An attorney for the staff says they will challenge the ruling. The hospital claims the requirement is meant to protect its patients. New York also hitting that crucial mark of 70% of its adult population vaccinated. Governor Andrew Cuomo now lifting state restrictions on commercial and social settings. Andrea Fujii, ABC News, New York.
Starting next month, families who qualify will get advance payments of the 2021 child tax credit from the IRS. Families claiming the child tax credit will get up to $3,000 for each qualifying child between the ages of 6 and 17, and $3,600 for children under 6. This means families will get up to $300 a month from July until December for each child under 6 years old, and $250 a month for children 6 to 17. If you qualify, though, you don't have to receive the payments. The IRS says details on how to waive them will be announced soon. In the heart of downtown San Antonio, there is a nightclub that's been a safe space for LGBTQ plus community for the past 40 years.
But the Bonham Exchange is more than just a spot for a fun night out. This week's episode of KSAT Explains is all about the history and the legacy of the Bonham and the man behind the iconic spot.
It's really nothing like it. There's really nothing to compare it to. The vibe and the energy in here is one of acceptance. And I think it's something that's lasted through the years.
It was one of the first large nightclubs that I had was able to go to and be myself. Coming from a small West Texas town, it really wasn't something that I had readily available to me.
The Bonham. You can watch the episode live tonight on KSAT.com, the KSAT TV app, or on the KSAT Facebook page. And after the show, we'll post the full episode so you can watch it on demand. Well, the weather's certainly warming up, and outside heat can make it harder to cool your home. Not to mention running the AC all day can be costly. Up next, the investments you can make now to help beat the heat and cut your electricity costs all summer long. ERCOT, the operator of the Texas electricity grid, continues to ask Texans to conserve power this week. The best way to do that is to bump up your thermostat and run the AC less. During the heat of summer, 12 on your side's Marilyn Moore, it says your ceiling fan can be key to keeping cool and saving money on that electricity bill.
One of the simplest ways to help beat the heat may be right over your head. To keep her home comfortable, Paula Machado relies on 3 ceiling fans, plus a little air conditioning.
We have the ceiling fans on all day long on the entire house to help it cool off. And it's important because, one, it saves our electric bill somewhat, and two, it really helps extend the life of our AC.
Ceiling fans cost very little to run, and when used with your AC, you can actually raise the thermostat by about 4 degrees and feel just as cool. When buying, look for the Energy Star label. They're 60% more efficient than others. To optimize your fan power, place it at the right height with the blades 8 to 9 feet above the floor.
If you have really high ceilings, use a down rod to bring the fan to the right height.
The most popular fan size is 52 inches. They're best for large rooms from 225 to 400 square feet. A 42 to 44-inch fan is effective in rooms from 144 to 225 square feet. When it's time to install, if you're replacing a light fixture with a ceiling fan, be sure the electric box can support the weight. During the summer months, remember to spin your blades in a counterclockwise direction. That creates the cool draft. And remember, fans cool people. They do not change the temperature of the room, so turn them off when you leave. Marilyn Moritz, KSAT 12 News.
That is a great tip for a day like today and really for the rest of the week.
Yeah, those ACs are humming along today.
Oh, they sure are. We're using up a lot of power these days with all the heat that we have outside right now. And it's not really abnormal heat for this time of year, but I've been talking to some folks about it because they're like, wow, this is just oppressive. It's crazy. I'm like, I think it's because we weren't eased into it this year. Late April, all of May, a rainy pattern, well below average temperatures, cooler than average, and then boom, this just came and brought us back to where we should be this time of year. More sun showers out there today. We're tracking some Gulf moisture that could be headed toward parts of Texas. We'll talk about that and if we could get any showers from it. And then staying hot. We're going to start with the heat. So let's get right to it. Here's a look outside. 93 degrees, dew point is 67. So it feels like it's 3 degrees warmer than the air temperature. Really, the heat index, not a huge factor out there right now because those afternoon dew points are finally mixing downward a little bit, contrary to what we had last week at this time. Rio Medina, 89. Helotes, meanwhile, 95. Stinson up to 98. Randolph, Converse area, 94 degrees. New Braunfels, 95. And Canyon Lake, 92. We get along the Rio Grande, Del Rio, 102. Cotulla, meanwhile, at 98. But you see some of those lower readings that stand out. Hondo, for example, 80 degrees. That's because we have some showers. We'll get to those in a second. Take a look at our high temperatures here. It's not going to get any better. I mean, we're looking at temperatures actually warming up a degree or two here in the days ahead and up to 97 by Sunday and Monday. I mentioned some of those showers. They give you a brief little respite from the heat outside. These are those sun showers because it rains, but it's still kind of sunny around you and elsewhere. And we had a few of them pop up on the north side of San Antonio here, especially Stone Oak and even toward Windcrest. That fell apart. It basically moved from Garden Ridge to Windcrest over the past couple of hours and then fell apart near Alamo Heights. And these don't last very long. They puff up and rain themselves out pretty quickly. But decent accumulations here in DeWitt County on the order of an inch or more from these downpours. And they're kicking out these outflow boundaries that can then develop a few more showers. And we're going to see these pop-up showers again, same time tomorrow, but not necessarily same place. That's the thing. We'll see just a few hit or miss ones. Take a look at these. Stone Oak, about 1/3 of an inch. You get just basically Converse area, about 1/3 to 1/2 an inch. And you get down toward Windcrest, a little over 1/10 of an inch. So better than nothing, and it gives you a brief cooling breeze. All right, here's the big picture. Not a whole lot of activity across the state. Big Blue H up over the Four Corners. We have a few disturbances running through the upper level flow, but nothing really of note right now. What we're watching is this moisture of the Gulf of Mexico. There is a likelihood that this is going to develop a little bit more in the days ahead and likely become a tropical depression. Could become a low-end tropical storm as well. Nonetheless, what we're watching with this is rain, and the rain still looks likely to stay to the east of us. Now, it's starting to trend a little westward and a little closer to us. But notice by Friday on into Saturday, the shower activity is mostly closer to Houston and then eastward on into Louisiana. So that still looks like that's going to miss us. Tomorrow, though, just a few of those pop-up sun showers, 20% chance in the afternoon. Temperature-wise, more of the same. Mid-70s in the morning, mid-90s by the afternoon. And then we crank it up a little bit more this weekend. Sunday, 97. By the way, summer solstice at about 10:31 p.m. Sunday evening.
Thank you, Adam.
All right, is this the year Becky gets her big break?
Yeah, I'm leaning more towards that way each day because now there's another vacancy other than the two that she's up for, Portland and, of course, Orlando. But now Boston may want Becky. When we come back, more about those details. And is this the dunk of the year in the NBA? You be the judge. Coming up. San Antonio's first assistant coach, Becky Hammon, is already slated to interview for the vacant head coaching job in Portland this week, but she's also on the list of candidates for the Orlando Magic. Now, Boston fans would like to see her on the list of candidates for the Celtics head coaching job as well. That's after Brad Stevens moved up into the front office to take over as president of the team after Danny Ainge announced his retirement. How do we know this? Because someone has put up a billboard asking Stevens to do just that, either Becky or former Celtics assistant coach Kara Lawson. Now, Hammond played 16 years in the WNBA before she became a Spurs assistant coach in 2014, becoming the first female assistant coach in all of the 4 major sports in North America. Like Becky, Lawson played 13 years in the WNBA before becoming the first female Celtics assistant coach in 2019, is now the head coach for the Duke women. The Los Angeles Clippers have gotten even with the Utah Jazz in their Western Conference semifinal series after they won Game 4 last night at the Staples Center, turned their best-of-7 series into a best-of-3 now. And the Clippers came out swinging behind former Spur Kawhi Leonard, who helped the Clippers destroy the Jazz in the first quarter, leading by 19 at the end of 1. Los Angeles was already out to a 30-13 lead. The play of the game came late in the second quarter when Leonard blew by Royce O'Neal and just posterizes Derek Favors to give the Clippers a 62-38 lead just before the half. Paul George added 31 points. San Antonio's own Jordan Clarkson was held to just 8 points on 3 of 12 shooting for the Jazz. And Utah had to play without guard Mike Conley with a sore right hamstring in the 118-104 loss. After the game, George was asked if Kawhi is just a different player in the postseason.
You see him being more aggressive, and you know what time it is. It's written all over him in terms of it's go time, it's playoff basketball, and ultimately it's winning time. And so you see it all around him. His approach, his body language, everything is to be great. And so he's leading the way.
Trae Young started the game with a sore shoulder, but managed to heat up to help the Atlanta Hawks even up their Eastern Conference semifinal playoff series at 2 wins apiece against the Philadelphia 76ers. That's after the Sixers jumped out to as much as an 18-point lead in Game 4, led by Tobias Harris with 20 points. But Young comes to the rescue late in the game when he gave the Hawks a lead at 1:17 left, remaining on that floater. Seth Curry had a chance to tie the game at the buzzer, but missed on the three-point attempt. And the Hawks get the win 103-100. And we have breaking news regarding the Dallas Cowboys and their training camp coming up this July. We'll have that for you at 6.
All right. Thank you, Greg.
We'll be right back.
And there's a look at your 7-day forecast. Tomorrow, a few more pop-up afternoon sun showers. The heat, well, it just stays intact. Gets a little hotter into the weekend, about 97 by Father's Day. As of now, it looks like the moisture from that tropical system will stay just east of us. But we'll keep an eye on it, as of course some things could change. But right now, the weekend's looking dry.
Thank you, Adam, and thank you for watching the News at 5 with us.
World News up next. We'll see you back here at 6.